You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Ask Drone U. It is a beautiful time of year. The fall colors are here. And if you're spending time in colorful Colorado or up in the Northeast or wherever you get fall changing colors, it is such a beautiful time of year. Shenandoahs. Yep.
Blue Ridge Mountains.
I'd prefer out west, but that's just my personal bias.
There's beauty everywhere, my friend.
That's right. You know, I've already seen Black Friday deals, Rob. Some company was offering $900 off their overly priced Murphy beds because I've been looking for the basement.
Yeah. Murphy beds are sweet.
They are pretty sweet, especially if you don't want to take up a lot of room.
And by the way, on that note, keep an eye out for the Drone U Black Friday sale. We're doing some different things this year, and we're excited about it. So keep an eye out.
Different than the last 4 or 5 years, right?
Different than the last 4 or 5 years. Typically, we just do something on Black Friday, and we kind of repeat it on Cyber Monday. And we're not doing that again. And we're also going to push some stuff out to the holiday season. I mean, like beyond Christmas kind of time frame.
That's fantastic.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah. We also have a lot more Don't Crash courses. We've really expanded this year. And we've also, once we get our Avata and Cinewhoop class out, which is, we're filming the last segment of it today. And I know it's taken a while, but we want to make sure it's the best one out there. So we've really gone above and beyond. Been doing a lot of fly-throughs. It's a great way to make money for people. And in all honesty, I find them to be so much fun. But there really is a learning curve when it comes to fly-throughs because it's not just like linear flight motions. It's kind of like driving, Rob. Mm-hmm. You know, you can learn to drive like an F1 racer where you're hitting the apex of a turn perfectly, or you can learn to drive like a drifter where your field of view is always nice and kind of smooth. You know what I mean? So,
and this would be more like a drifter, I'd say.
100%, yeah. Which is what it takes to do, you know, indoor drone tours and whatnot. So, anyway, we have got a very interesting show for you today. We're gonna keep it short. We're gonna keep it succinct, but there is a lot going on in this drone industry, and I think some of you have realized it, some of you haven't. But the lawfare is hitting a high note. From DJI not being able to import Mavic 3 Enterprises, which Rob and I learned the hard way, didn't we?
We're in the process of that lesson, actually.
Yeah.
We're trying to pick up 1 or 2 of them, and it's not happening.
Yeah, so about 2 weeks ago, Reuters reported that DJI has been import banned, essentially, from importing certain drones. And one of them is that Mavic 3 Enterprise. We actually had a class. We haven't podcasted in a while because I have just been traveling the country doing trainings. The amount of trainings is just going up. And I'm grateful for that because people realize that our high standard, and people realize that, if you really want to become a confident pilot capable of flying in any environment, you need the right training and the right systems of training. So we've been really at it for a lot of public utilities, which I'm grateful for. But in the process of this, we had a consumer-based training about 3 weeks ago, and we had a student dump a Mavic 3 Enterprise into Lake Loveland, which was funny because this person was joking. Anyway.
It happens.
It always happens. It was the first actually Mavic 3 Enterprise crash of the whole year, which was kind of nice. But as we went to our insurance to say, hey, a student crashed one of our drones during training, we went out to buy a new one. And Rob, what happened when you tried to go buy a new one?
They're just unavailable.
Like you're seeing back ordered, like Drone Nerds back ordered, Outerama.
Oh yeah, everything just says back ordered, which is essentially nowadays when it comes to this particular drone, which everybody wants, they don't know when they're coming. In fact, I've reached out to a couple of our primary suppliers when we buy drones, and they're saying, well, let us check with the manufacturer. And I haven't even heard from Matt. I think it's been about a week and a half.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just tough. I mean, there's some folks that are like looking for sort of back end channels to get them into the States from China. I think legitimate channels, but just kind of through their own distribution process, if you will. Their own customs process, etc. So it's just difficult to get them right now. And, we've even looked kind of on some of the secondhand options online to try to find them, and they're just difficult to get right now. Hoping that'll open back up here. So you can get thermals, you can get the Mavic 3, even probably the Sena, you can get those. It's just the Mavic 3 Enterprise you can't get.
It's fascinating because
Mavic 3 Pros you can get, just not the Enterprise.
Yeah. It's funny because now you can hack your Mavic 3 Enterprise to get all the filming modes of a Mavic 3 Sena or Pro, which is awesome. I got a video coming out on that here shortly.
Really?
Yeah, let's just say
but not vice versa.
Not vice versa. Yeah, you can't.
Shucks.
Yeah, because essentially with the Mavic 3 Pro or Sena, you have no ability to do automated flight missions. Like Pilot isn't on the remote, and it's like blocked from downloading that APK file. So anyway,
and I should say, like we are able to get them. Like we can probably, but it'd be like 3 to 6 weeks out. We needed something faster.
Yeah, which we still need to buy one, and we haven't been able to get one. But this brings us to the point that Reuters essentially reported a DJI import ban. Essentially, what are they stating here, Rob?
Well, they're stating exactly that. They're calling it's because of the UFLPA, the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. Is that, I don't know how you say that, UYGUHR or UYGHUR. But I think that's where up sort of in the northern part of China, perhaps they are using this particular ethnicity,
forced labor,
as forced labor, and at what capacity, I'm not even sure. But from a humanitarian standpoint, it's pretty awful. And so apparently a law was passed that was effective in 2022, June 2022, designed to prevent goods produced with forced labor from entering the U.S. It's not funny, but when I think about the labor situation in China for the last 30 years, and I think this probably is a step worse, and maybe I'm underestimating that, and forgive me if that's true. It's awful, but it's kind of been this element of labor in China for a long, long time by a lot of different U.S. manufacturers.
I think it's safe to say that this is more political than it is a real problem because, there's extremely cheap labor going on, or even forced labor for numerous products. I mean, this is not something new. I think the point is that essentially they're blocking the import of DJI drones on this like really kind of out there unique issue of the UFLPA, right?
Yeah. And again, this is a serious situation. What these people are going through is horrific. So I just don't want to understate that. It's just, yes, it is what they've chosen to use to block drones from coming into the U.S.
And I think that's an important point because this essentially showcases the lawfare that's going on, right?
Yeah.
Because the official DJI Autel Anzu ban did not make it through to the NDAA just yet. In fact, it still seems like it's in this like limbo state.
Yeah, and I think it will be for a while. Certainly through the election, of course, or maybe until the new president is sworn in January. But the thing about this in terms of warfare as it relates specifically to drones, what other products are being manufactured in the same paradigm or environment that are not being blocked? That's the point.
Oh, no, that's actually a phenomenal point because you think about things like the Ronin gimbals, or what about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3s, right? What about all the other DJI things that are made, and then...
Or even outside of DJI.
Yeah, what about Apple stuff? Yeah, there's, we could go on and on and on.
Exactly.
But I think the point here is that just because the DJI drone ban didn't pass in the House and Senate, this is the U.S. government saying, like, hey, we might not have gotten it passed, but when we want to do something, we're going to do it.
And I just wonder who they are.
Yeah.
Because it's saying, U.S. Customs. That doesn't mean crap to me. I mean, obviously, that's the mechanism.
Yeah, No, and it's an important part. I mean, but now the tide has turned, and China has retaliated against this issue. Just yesterday, actually last night around 10:30, there was a post by Adam Bree, who is the CEO of Skydio. Essentially, I'll let you read it, Rob, because I think it's something that should be read.
The entire letter?
I don't know about the entire letter, but I mean, there's some important points in there. Look, I know a lot of people are pissed off at Skydio's lobbying efforts. If we look at opensecrets.org, and we look at Skydio and we look at how much money that they've spent in 2022, they spent about $530,000 lobbying. In 2023, they spent, it looks like...
About the same in 2022.
Well, 2022, 530, it looks like 550,000 in 2023. And then for 2024, they've spent 170,000 per quarter up until this quarter.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting as it relates to those data points, they are, and we know this, but by far from the only people that are lobbying in Congress to get what they want.
No,
right?
That's a good point, actually, because AUVSI is lobbying as well.
Yeah, I mean...
That's mentioned. Not only that, but Brink has spent almost $250,000 last year lobbying as well. I mean, Skydio is not the only one who is doing this.
Right.
But if you were to look on Reddit, if you were to look on all these other things, you would see that a lot of people are pissed off at Skydio. In fact, when we posted about this, there were some pretty ugly comments out there that this is karma for Skydio because they've been pushing the ban and whatnot. So
yeah, and like anything, I think there's truth to all sides. I won't even say both sides. There's some truth to all sides, right? And I don't know. I think we're all so susceptible to making judgments, and then way too many of us comments in the social media realm based on not complete information.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of that. The thing is like we want, I don't know, if any of these American companies could just build something that the average consumer could use.
You know, we've had
so much of this would go away.
We've had the Freefly Astro for a little while now, and I think it's the superior American offering. I posted a video showcasing a Skydio X10 battery and a Freefly battery, and I took this photo in March, so it's like many months ago. And long story short is, Skydio's batteries have been made in China for a while. Freefly, they're not made in China. You look at even Wingtra's batteries. Wingtra's batteries are made in Europe, I think by a Samsung factory in Europe. But the thing is that many of the American manufacturers are really systems integrators. They're not true their own flight controllers, all of that. And I really feel like Freefly is the only only group of people that have really coded out the messy, junky feel of these Autarian flight controllers that everyone uses. And when I say messy and junky, it's just like the simple way that they fly, which we've talked about before, but it's just, it's like, if you were to drive, a 1980s Honda Accord versus even a modern day Honda Accord, the acceleration is going to be much smoother. It's going to be much more peppy. The power band is going to be very different. Like
the DJIs we've been gotten used to flying.
Yeah.
Here's what I would love. And so this is an open invitation. I feel like Joe Rogan, and I know I'm far from Joe Rogan, so don't misinterpret that. Is if some of these people from these companies, these American companies, would come on, explain in layman's terms why it is so hard to match what DJI has done. And don't tell me it's just cost.
Well, and
go deeper.
That's something that Adam Bree said on CNBC, is that it comes down to cost. But I think we also know there are certain manufacturing.
Freaking America.
But we're talking about decades of manufacturing going overseas. We're talking about decades of behavioral actions by corporations that have developed these enormous manufacturing facilities overseas and not developed them stateside simply because of the economic costs.
Okay, so then how do we reverse course?
Okay. There's a couple things that we've skipped over that I really want to touch on.
Okay.
But first of all, how do we reverse course? The answer is the American government, just like the CHIPS Act, needs to subsidize the American production of these things. And, just like I was saying earlier, Freefly Astros, they're amazing. But to your point, Rob, people want a sub $10,000 American drone that's going to essentially be the equivalent of a Mavic 3 Enterprise. That's what they want. We know a couple companies that are working on that right now. They're not going to be named, but good luck. We look forward to seeing what you have to offer. It couldn't come soon enough.
They may or may not even be American manufacturers.
That is correct as well. Yes. Now, that being said, this conundrum, right? DJI import banned. They retaliate against Skydio. No batteries. You know, the DJI ban in the NDAA was going to give $15 million to support the drone industry. That's the equivalent of 300 drones at $50,000 each. That's kind of a joke, okay? I think the crux of this is that pilots are truly facing the headwinds of all these issues. And the way that our government has done this, whether you're conservative or liberal, honestly, it kind of doesn't matter here because you're getting this anti-China thing from both sides. But what I really find un-American about all this is that we have not had an intellectually superior methodology of dealing with this. Air gap the drones, inhibit them from firmware upgrades. There should be, you should never plug these drones into a computer that's connected to like a university network, a public utility network, or any network that needs to remain secure for any reason whatsoever. And these are stupid things that employees who are overly excited about flying their DJI drones have plugged them into their computers. They've caused problems at utilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but you'll never be able to control that. It's idealistic to even think that that can be solved for because you're talking about the human element. Unless you can lock it down or not put the port on the drone, those kinds of things, you're not going to be able to stop that kind of stupidity.
I think that we could stop that. But the problem is...
How are you going to stop the guy at the university from plugging one of his drones into a computer?
You fill it with super glue. And you fill the port with super glue. I mean, you got to remember, that's what
I'm saying. Lock it down. So then you got to make sure every single drone that's done to. That's what I'm saying.
No, we're talking about a serious scalability issue. You're absolutely right. But I mean, there were drones in the past that they did exactly that. I mean,
maybe when there were 10,000, not 10 million.
No, look at Skydio X10 drones. They super glue every SD card into the drone so you can't pull it out.
Who does? You mean coming out of the factory?
Skydio does this. There's 2 SD card ports, one for the bird and one for storing your data. And the one for the bird was always super glued in so you could not pull it out. So, I mean, this has been done at scale.
Why not just make it an internal? It doesn't matter. We're getting into the weeds.
Here's the thing.
I'm getting into the weeds. Sorry.
I am very disappointed that our American government, which is supposed to be superior, has not created an intelligent methodology of dealing with the security issues and still allowing people to buy DJI. And now China retaliates. Skydio is absolutely... they're facing an extreme battery shortage right now. Rob, we should read that because I think it's really important that we go over what he said.
All right, really quick. So China's announced sanctions, and so that's obviously something formal on Skydio very specifically for selling drones to Taiwan. So they're making Adam is making a very specific claim with respect to selling drones to Taiwan.
And I think the Chinese are doing this because they're saying, hey, the way that we manufacture and you blaming us for forced labor is a political thing. And I think they're hitting back by trying to provide a specific reason that seems completely political to us. It's like tit for tat. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, and they're saying that our only customer in Taiwan is their national fire agency. And so I take Adam at his word on that, but it's an attack on Skydio, but also on you, our customers. And we're proud to support all the different things that they support. But as a result of as a result of these sanctions, so I'm paraphrasing, y'all can read it. Our battery supply will be reduced for the next few months. I don't know how long that actually means, but he's saying few months and it will impact customers. And so what that means is they're rationing with every drone that goes out 1 battery per drone. We all know that no operation can be truly effective with one drone or with one battery.
Yeah, that's a joke.
It is what it is. They're smarter than me trying to figure this out. So they're doing the best they can.
Humble of you.
No, it's true. And but they say we're taking the drastic step of rationing batteries to 1 per drone. I know how critical drones are to your work. And when he says he's talking to public safety, military installations, et cetera, et cetera. Says this is a clarifying moment for the drone industry. If there were ever any doubt, this action makes clear that the Chinese government will use supply chains as a weapon. I think we knew that to advance their interest over ours. I think we knew that. The drone market has historically been dominated by Chinese companies, still is, who are now rapidly losing market share to Skydio. I hope. I don't know what to say about that statement.
Wait, about which statement?
Chinese companies who are now rapidly losing market share to Skydio. Yeah. Anyways, and our Western peers. We want that so bad.
We want what?
We want Skydio to lose. I mean, we want DJI to lose market share to American manufacturers.
Because competition is good for drone pilots, and it'll ultimately develop cheaper American drones that better service drone pilots. Yeah? Just making sure that I understand what we're saying.
I think everybody understands, right? We all want an American manufacturer or a group of American manufacturers to be successful and to produce and provide the drones to the American economy that we need.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to get them from DJI. I don't think there's anybody that's like, no, they're so pro-China that they're buying DJI because they're pro-China. They're buying DJI because they freaking work.
And they're
easy,
inexpensive. And they're convenient. I mean, stupid stuff. Like the way, I actually think the US government is making it hard on American manufacturers. Example, you go to register a Skydio drone. You go to register a Freefly drone. You go to register a Wingtra drone. Okay. Typically what you have to do is you have to turn the drone on, go into the about settings, find out what the Skynode actual serial number is, not the serial number of the drone provided by Freefly, not the serial number of the drone provided by Wingtra. You actually have to go in and do like multiple extra steps to figure out the right serial number to actually register your drone, because now the FAA has locked down serial numbers by a certain kind to say like, oh, you want to register your drone as a standard remote ID. Oh, it's a Freefly Astro. Well, you need to have this length of serial number. And I learned this the hard way.
What's the significance of this? Help me understand.
With a DJI drone, you literally just cut, copy, and paste the serial number, register the drone, and it's done in 3 minutes versus taking 20 to 30 minutes to go figure out which serial number on the drone is actually going to get the registration to go through on the FAA's website.
So you're just saying that's one more reason that DJI is easier to fly?
Yes, and there's hundreds of these little nuances.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that like the government is not making it easier on American manufacturers either. And so I think that's why someone said on Instagram, they're like, this is karma for Skydio. And I actually thought this was a GoPro joke, because remember the failed GoPro karma?
Yeah. But let me just keep going. So this is an attempt. This is Adam speaking here. This is an attempt to eliminate the leading American drone company and deepen the world's dependence on Chinese drone suppliers. Probably is. That's one of those things where every country, every company is trying to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't even blame them for that. The key is you guys are better. You'll rise above. We believe in you. I mean, that sounds so like kumbaya. But anyways, I really believe that about American manufacturers. We've got to get there. So he says, we'll come out of this stronger than ever with the most secure supply chain in the industry. Hope that's true. Continuing to meet the rapidly scaling needs of public safety, critical infrastructure, and defense customers around the world. Notice what's not mentioned in there.
What?
The average drone service provider, the average consumer. I don't know. Every indication that we're seeing, that we understand, certainly I don't think it's been directly stated, although something like that does state it, that perhaps we should not ever expect Skydio to be the provider for, say, replacing a Mavic 3 Enterprise.
Woof. Yeah.
But you know what? That's not necessarily a horrible thing, but hopefully somebody else.
It cuts out 90% of the market, but yeah.
Well, again, they're sitting in their conference rooms making these strategic decisions, and they have all the information. They're smarter than me. So,
I worry just about that, because we've seen how kind of like a top-heavy approach has inhibited companies like Boeing. The top-heavy approach at the FAA has caused red tape for things like drone delivery, doing all these environmental analysis for something that's, kind of silly.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think the amount of roadblocks that are popping up are only increasing, not decreasing. And this lawfare, look, I understand that there are very legitimate security issues with DJI drones, but I also understand that there are simple ways of solving this problem and not taking a totalitarian effort of let's just ban DJI drones, because this is affecting consumers as well. I mean, original Ken Bono on Twitter is talking about how he can't get his Air 3S, that it's locked up in customs, but we had a student get his Air 3S like right away. So we know that this is impacting consumers not as seriously as it's impacting, say, like DSPs, for example. But this haphazard, top-heavy approach at Skydio, lobbying, Brink lobbying, AVSI lobbying, all these guys lobbying against DJI, but not having an intelligent approach, and the government not implementing an intelligent approach, is hurting everyone. it's interesting. When is there going to be the climax? When is the denouement going to hit? And what is going to ultimately happen for the drone industry, Rob? Like where does this lead us? Where does this take us? Because we do have some information at Drone U that we know that there are multiple manufacturers that are working on something like a DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise to provide something like that. And when Adam says, we're the leading US manufacturer and we'll have the most secure supply chain in the United States, Adam, I love your very intellectual comments. I think it's very well articulated, the comments as well. But I would argue that Freefly, once again, already has the most secure supply chain in the American industry. You've got other people that are doing a great job as well. Look at Soten's Japanese. Look at Inspired Flight. These other people are focusing on competing on features and not competing on regulations, and you're starting to see a divide in the consequences. At least that's what it looks like from my lens. What do you think about that? Where do you think this goes? Where do you think this leads to?
I just don't know. I mean, I think it's like I said, I would like to have more information as to why we can't produce drones that people need beyond the public safety, critical infrastructure, and defense customers' needs.
Yeah. Well, and also,
and I don't see an answer. I mean, I think maybe we should address a little bit about Anzu and whether I don't know. Can they be an answer? I mean, if they're licensing from DJI, and I don't know if they. I mean,
they were specifically named in the last edition.
They weren't specifically named.
They were named as far as maybe they weren't named, but they said any company licensing from DJI.
Correct, but that has not passed. It has not been signed by the president.
True.
So until that happens, if it happens, I mean, I wouldn't make decisions based on that, particularly if you're running out of options.
I wonder if they're having any import ban issues. I wonder if Randall's having issues.
I would imagine not, in the sense of
because their loophole
right.
saying that they're manufactured in Malaysia, even though it still says made in China all over the thing.
Well, yeah. We've covered all that. We get it. And I know the thing about this is, we're not talking to these people every day.
No.
We don't know the conversations they're having with the important people in their ecosystems.
No.
And so they might be making progress in ways that we are not privy to.
We hope so.
Are not. Absolutely, we hope so. But I want to make sure that we leave that possibility open in terms of the minds of the people that listen to us, that this is not a balance sheet spoken as a bean counter. A balance sheet tells you a balance of an asset as of a point in time. Literally the next day, it could change significantly. This is that same paradigm. They're all working everybody's jockeying and everybody's doing the best, I think, with the resources they have, making the decisions the best they can. Are they going to make the best decisions? No, nor do we. We just want there to be solid solutions for pilots. Yeah, period. End of story.
But we need the government to also step up. I mean, when you think about, are
we libertarians or not?
When you think about how the U.S. government gave AeroVironment $900 million for Switchblade drones, but they're giving $15 million for helping replace America's drones that are servicing infrastructure. That is a complete joke.
Well, yeah, but that's so not a surprise. We live in the military industrial country of the world.
And I would argue that these are one of the most powerful assets in exactly that. I mean, that's why DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise, 60% of their manufacturing runs were going to Ukraine. I mean, you could argue that, well, it's kind of important here, U.S. government. I think it is. I mean,
I don't think anybody's arguing that it's important. The question is, well, what are the actual solutions? And I'm going to be honest with you. Anytime I hear that the government is the solution, I'm like, whoa.
Well, you said, are we libertarians or not? And that's something, I mean.
It's so much deeper than the government needs to subsidize drone production and creation and manufacturing, because it's about our unions. It's about the lifestyle of American workers, and it's kind of makes me think about the dock workers strike and the amount of money that the dock workers were making and what they were asking for as with that being sort of their foundational starting point. And I don't know how we can, like, what are we going to ask are we going to ask every American worker to take a 30% cut in whatever they make? Like, let's just, right?
I mean, we're talking about this whole lawfare situation, DJI Skydio having $116 billion impact on the industry as a whole. I mean, luckily people can still fly their existing DJIs. It's not a problem. Things are kosher, et cetera, et cetera. But if they got stricter on this stuff, it would have a massive impact. And yes, I would want the government to step in because it was the government who stepped in to shut it down. So yeah, I mean, like the natural kind of progression is, okay, well then let's solve the manufacturing issue. If you want to shut these things down from China, then help us stand up the manufacturing necessary to build batteries, to build flight controllers, to build motors.
Then my question is, what does step in mean?
Find a company, give them $1 billion.
Elon.
Yeah, seriously. Actually, that would be a very...
Build some drones. Okay, first of all, build a phone. We'll buy it.
Okay. But seriously, that would actually be very apropos because Tesla would be the perfect manufacturer for a drone. Why? They're building these brushless motors. They're building these ESCs. They're building ECUs. ECU is not a far cry off of a flight controller.
If we have a Democratic White House, Elon might be fighting off jail. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But anyways, I'm to be serious, when we say the government needs to step in again, what does that mean? Because if there's
manufacturing.
Support with
financial,
with like an Elon, I don't want to get political here.
It's too late for that.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
But look at what they did with TSMC.
I don't want some government agency dealing with this.
No, agreed.
They can decide who gets the money to do a good job at solving the problems. I don't even necessarily trust them to do that. So I just don't know what that means. The government steps in. That makes me nervous as heck. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't discount what you're saying.
I don't know what other solution would be actually viable.
Well, especially now when our economy is basically 50% government anyways.
Read that.
Which freaks me the heck out. And it should freak you out as well. But again, I don't want to get political. But we're just compounding that issue. So I don't have the answer. Clearly, I've rambled a lot this show, and you can see I don't have the answer. That's part of why I would really like some of these leaders of these companies, these American manufacturers, to come on and really explain things to the listeners.
I don't know if they're capable, Rob, because that would showcase that these senators, congressmen are doing their research. It would showcase intelligent solutions, not just ban them. No,
the leaders of these companies, they have got to be able to articulate these points. Doesn't mean they will. Yeah. But I have to believe they have a deep understanding of these things that we're talking about. And I don't know to what extent they could share publicly, but man, would it be helpful.
So, dear Elon, we would love to start up a manufacturing company with your support and financial backing. So,
dear Elon.
Yeah, there it is. Well, anyway, that I think is going to wrap up this kind of longer show showcasing DJI versus Skydio, which should probably be the title of this show, just because the lawfare games going on are heating up. They're not slowing down. And the only one caught in the middle are drone pilots. And it's unfortunate, but keep flying your birds, keep advocating.
Load up on DJI if you can.
Gosh, I mean, yeah. I mean, we could really go down the rabbit hole on this whole lithium battery production stuff, which is what's impacting Skydio. There's been conspiracy theories about Hurricane Helene in North Carolina and lithium deposits and, what is it called? Eminent domain being used out there to purchase land for lithium mining. I mean, we could go on and on and on, but we're not going to. But if you have questions regarding this, you should go to askdroneu.com, send them in. We would love to talk about them. But I think that's going to do it for us today. Look, if you're looking to get more confident in flying your drone, there's only one school that can help you rise above and beyond all the rest. That is DroneU. Check it out, thedroneu.com.